All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is DePaul Straub. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm the Assistant Director here in New Student and Transition Services at Mines, and have the privilege of hosting our Welcome Webinar series this summer. Hopefully, some of you all have joined us for some of our other webinars or seen the recordings, but we have a really special one today, obviously only for our families, with some of our student life leadership, and we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how to support your student now that they are less than a month away from being a college student. So with that being said, just a couple quick reminders before we start. This session will ask for some participation, specifically through the chat. Unfortunately, obviously, we're not able to see you all, but we would love to hear from you. So when our lovely guests ask for responses, we encourage you to respond through that chat feature. If you do have questions at any time throughout the webinar, please utilize that Q&A feature. Please note that some of them we will respond in chat, some of them might get saved to be answered later, but please know if you do submit that to the Q&A section, we do see it, and we will do our best to get that answered for you. With that being said, I think those are really all of my housekeeping things. So I will hand it over to our student life leadership to introduce themselves.
Awesome. Thanks to Paul so much. Thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. We're excited to connect with families and parents. It's always a fun session for us, an opportunity for us to talk about what support does look like here for your student as they get started. So my name is Sheena Martinez. I use she, her pronouns. I serve as the Assistant Vice President of Student Life for Student Engagement. And that means that I oversee our areas like our new Student and Transition Services Office, Student Activities Involvement and Leadership, our Multicultural Engineering Program, and our TRIO programs, which are federally funded programs here to support incoming students. I am a first-generation college graduate. I graduated from school here in Colorado at Colorado School of Mines. So, sorry, I did not graduate from Colorado School of Mines. That's funny. I went to CSU, did not study anything STEM related, but I'm happy to be here to support our students when it comes to their STEM education, because there are some nuances that we know of what it means being here at a STEM institution and just the commitment that students show throughout their time here and wanting to make sure that we are also appropriately supporting them. So I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Derek Morgan.
Thanks, Sheena. Hi, everyone. Derek Morgan. I serve as the Dean of Students. I use he, him pronouns, and I work with our student conduct area. I work with Student Emergency Fund, and then all the health and wellness and well-being initiatives. So the Counseling Center, Health Center, Student Outreach and Support, Wellness Promotions, all those things. So I also have originally from Nashville, Tennessee, but have been here in Colorado and worked at the School of Mines. Don't laugh, for 22 years, a long time. And I love this place. I also have a daughter that's starting college this fall. So parents, I feel what you're going through. She's not going to Mines. I didn't go to Mines, but it is a great place. Love this place so much. Wish she would go to school here, but she wants to go out of state somewhere and be that person. So good for her. But yeah, I also have a 14-year-old son that's starting high school as well. And yeah, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Elliott.
Hi, y'all. Thanks, Derek. My name is Mary Elliott. I use she, her pronouns. I serve Mines as the long title Executive Director of Residence Life and Auxiliary Services, which is very long, complicated title. I oversee the residential communities and all the residence life on campus. I also work with our auxiliaries, and that means the campus store, I'm losing all of the things I do, but our Blaster Card office and all of dining, as well as some other things around campus. So those are the things that I get to work with daily, and then I get to work with Sheena and Derek as part of the student life leadership team. So I do not have a child entering college, but I did not also go to Mines. We are a group of non-engineers, but we do the great thing is our educational backgrounds and our passion and our work, and I've been at Mines for 11 years, but our work is centered around college students, and it is our honor and our pleasure to get to work with Mines students and the uniqueness that they bring to campus, and their journey through Mines is always one that we really love helping support and be a part of for them. So yeah, that's me. I have 2 dogs and a cat. And I always say, like, I don't no children of my own, but I really like hanging out with yours. That's a fun part of my life, which is awesome. So I'm gonna ask, I think DePaul's doing there we go. You rock, DePaul. We just did our introductions. That's who we are. That's who's talking to you right now. And one of the biggest messages Sheena and Derek and I just want you to know, as well as the rest of the student life team, is how we want to congratulate you all as support systems for these students, that it is not easy to get to this place. It's not easy to get to the point of like graduating high school and knowing that college is your path. I mean, those are all complicated. And then to get to a school like Mines and to be as focused as your students, I'm sure, and we know are, we're thrilled for you. We're excited to kind of take them when you make the warm handoff, when you drop them off here. We're excited to kind of pick that up and support them as well. But we're thrilled for you, and we're excited for you to be entering this journey with them, knowing that your role with them will change throughout this journey and that you'll take on different roles. But right now, we're just excited for you. So congrats. This session is to kind of walk you through the things that we in our experience with your students and with Mine students in general and college students overall, we want you to know about all the support services that are here on campus. We want you to know all the ways that we have built safety nets under our students to make sure that they are supported, but also we know they're going to have ups and downs, and we want to be there to celebrate them in the ups, and we want to really be there to support them through when they have some hard times. We'll let you know about all of those. We want to really be really honest with you about some of the changes that you're going to experience, and how the responsibilities that our students have, that the things that you will take on, and kind of how you can approach being a coach for your student. And then we want to tell you about Mines a little bit. And then, so how we've arranged this, and Sheena will walk you through this a little bit, but we've kind of arranged, and DePaul told you that it's interactive. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to give you some scenarios and ask you to consider those scenarios, and how you would respond to them. And we'll kind of have some back and forth a little bit with you for that. In the meantime, I know this is not, sometimes you might not know what student life is. We've referred several times to student life, and student life is essentially the area outside of campus, out on campus, that is outside the classroom. We support and create environments for your students outside of their academic classrooms. So all the fun stuff, basically. It's all the fun stuff and all the support services and all the things that help get your student through things. Okay, I'm gonna pass this on. Stop talking now. I think Sheena's up.
No.
Oh, jokes on jokes.
I got it. I got it. So we're going to practice the chat by having you all write where you're coming from today. So like I'm actually in Golden, but I'm from Nashville. Where are you all from? Here we go. This is good. This is good.
Goodness.
All over. Anyone from Tennessee yet? All right. Well, welcome from all these places. Some of you it's in the evening, it looks like. Some of you it's still 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But welcome. And again, let me add my congratulations to what you've already heard. Big accomplishment to get accepted into the School of Mines and to know this is what you want to do. It is a great place. It will be challenging, but it is a great experience. I also want to point out right here, this is a 10-pound rock. This is what a 10-pound rock could look like. Bring one. And a hard hat, which students will get. Hard hat. Very important things. So, all right. As Mary said, we work in student life. We want to partner with you all. We want to connect. We want to engage. Um, we know you know your students the best, right? And we're just here to help them for the next few years, to challenge them, to support them. And so I want to talk a little bit about challenge and support because we all play a role. The student needs to challenge themselves. They also need to give themselves some grace at times, and recognize they can't do everything. You, as parents, need to challenge and support them. And we will definitely challenge and support them. We know they're capable, but maybe they've never really had much challenge in their life, or maybe they've never learned how to study. Maybe they've never had to share a room with someone. Those can all be challenging things. And so we're going to challenge them with those, as well as the classes are going to be difficult. But there's also lots and lots of support. And some of it will be thrown in their face and it'll be hard to ignore. Other things they'll have to raise their voice and let us know they need support and ask for help. So, what does challenge and support look like for you? It could be helping challenge them to participate in a club or organization on campus to get out of their comfort zone a little bit. It could be challenging them to take a more difficult class, to meet with a professor after an exam, to come up with solutions to the problems, to stay here on campus when they really want to come home, to ask for help. These are all things that you can help challenge them to do. You can also support them by calling and texting and checking in with them, sending them care packages. They love to get mail. Visiting them for Parents and Family Weekend or other times, and reminding them to have grace, as I said earlier, with themselves and with their roommates, their friends, other people. Everybody's working really hard. Mines is tough. It is a tough institution, but your son or daughter have all the skills needed to be successful here. They just need to, have confidence and know that they can turn to you all and to us when they need support. It will be different. And so you've heard about FERPA, the Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act. So we're not going to share grades. We're not going to share attendance. We're not going to tell you what time they went to bed, if they're even staying in their residence. But please know, if we're concerned for their well-being in some way, we will reach out. We can reach out and we will. Again, I think you know your son or daughter better than we do. And so we want your help. If there's things that they're struggling with or need support with, we will definitely reach out. And we ask the same for you. If you know that your son or daughter is going through something right now and having a difficult time, it's never too early to let us know. We can put that information away or do what we need to track that and have that information. So please, whatever is going on, if you ever need something, please know that you can reach out to any of us on this call, plus a host of other people within the Student Life Division, to help you out. Hopefully that all makes sense. Again, this is a partnership. The student has a responsibility to reach out, to ask for what they need, to tell us what's going on. Same for you all. And likewise for us. We need to communicate. We need to share with you what we need. We need to share with them what the expectations are, and we will do that. The whole part of our Hell of a Welcome, Order Camp, all those things that happen at the beginning are to really prepare the students for the start of the year. And then we follow that up with the CSM 101 course that they take that first semester, just reaffirms all the things we talked about during the start of the school year. Plus, most of the students will be living on campus and engaging in the great programming offered through Residence Life to help them build community and really be a part of the Mines campus. So Sheena will now share with you about what's next.
Okay, so we said we had some scenarios that we want to spend some time going over with you all. And these are really scenarios that we find to have some sort of common thread in terms of what we see students experiencing at some point throughout their their time here, especially in the first semester or first year. So we're going to talk about social connections, how you can support your students in that way, of course, academics and grades, and how we both support students, but also help them to think maybe a little bit differently than they have previously about how they look at grades and kind of the significance of them and how they find balance in those things. And then, of course, health and well-being, which we know is so important for our students on campus. So we'll talk about kind of what does that look like as we think about this partnership between the students, ourselves, and you all, and really, again, kind of lean into the reality that your student may experience any or all of these things while they're here. So we want to make sure that you all are equipped with some ideas and with some tips on how to approach this and how to have some effective conversations with your students. So the first scenario that we have, and DePaul, I'll let you go to the next one. So the scenario is that you talk to your student and they're mentioning that they're having a hard time finding friends and getting connected on campus. So what do you do? And this is an interesting one, I think, especially as I've seen students here at Mines, that I do think it can be some delay for some students as they find their community and start thinking about what that social aspect of their experience is going to be here. So I'm gonna put these questions here for you. So I want you all to think through these 4 questions here. What resources may be helpful? What positive messaging and or approach is best? What is the student's responsibility? And how can you as parents or guardians or support persons positively engage your student in thinking about how they can plug into the campus community here? So this is going to be your second time to engage. And so I'd love to hear some of you or read some of the ideas that you all have as you think through kind of this social connection aspect. What's coming up for you all in response to any of these questions? You could just pop those in the chat and we'll start talking a little bit about some suggestions and ideas that you all have. Let's see, open up my chat. So suggesting they join a club, welcome events, study groups, student clubs, joining clubs. I love that. Talk to your RA, clubs, what have they tried? Remind them that other students are feeling the same way. I think that's great to really normalize those things. Greek life, student support. Let them know it'll take time to make friends. Yep, that might look different. Upper class resources. Get off of your screen, get out of your room. I love those ones. Yes, those are easy things to fall back into, especially for our students that we know love kind of some of those more introverted activities. Don't give up. Yep. First, ask what they've done. Yeah, I think that's great to get the students really thinking about and reflecting on what it is that they're doing and what they might be able to do differently. Enjoy the outdoors. We have some amazing outdoor activities here. Doors open, that's an interesting one. We know students who are living in our trads are oftentimes, they talk about having a little bit of an elevated experience because of the reality that they keep their doors open to keep the airflow going in there. But it also has this added benefit of helping to create some really great community. Yep, joining a group, using the pool or gym, those are all excellent, and the same type of examples that we would often have. So you've already mentioned getting involved with Residence Life and the RAs that are there. They'll have a lot of really intentional programming to help students as they go into their first year and as they're thinking about kind of all of these dynamics that are happening on campus. So there'll be a lot for them to plug into there in a variety of subjects and content and things to help them grow. You know, one of the things that we know as educators who are working with college students is that students who are more plugged into campus resources and activities, organizations, they tend to be more successful than students who are solely focusing on the academic side. And, you know, I think a lot of us can understand that when you are, you know, when you're in college, you're practicing kind of being able to balance so many different things. And so those opportunities to plug in and to plug in the place that's your home community specific year residents, that's a great way for students to get plugged in. I mentioned the Student Activities Involvement and Leadership Office as well. We have anywhere we teeter from between 150 to 200 clubs and organizations. We always say that there's something for every student, and if we don't have it, students have the opportunity to start those clubs and organizations. So there really shouldn't be any reason for a student to not be plugging into some sort of activity or organization along those lines. We also have our multicultural engineering program that hosts 5 of our professional organizations that are identity-based. So really great ways for students to plug in that regard as well. And then lots of other opportunities that students will have a chance to be thinking about as they continue on in their career. And so they may want to really be thinking about how do they connect in. So our new Student and Transition Services office is a great example of programming that students can get involved in after their first year and beyond. And it really is a great way to kind of come full circle for students and to engage in ways that may have been really important for students. And that is really important for a lot of our students as they begin to engage here. So some questions that you may want to be thinking about, and I love the idea of asking students questions first, because we know we have also seen parents who want to try and start with telling their students what they should do. And 1, it takes away from your students' opportunity to reflect, but 2, it's likely that they may be more open to engaging in prolonged conversation if you're asking questions. So really opening up the lines of communication. So it's not just the one time that they're talking to you, that they're continuing to engage you in conversation. So thinking about what they're interested in getting involved in the coming year. So these are good conversations to start having now with them. How they anticipate about learning or getting involved in these activities. And again, we have so much that's happening at the start of the year, from Hell of a Welcome, Celebration of Minds. So really thinking about how they will they'll leverage those opportunities the most. Thinking about those ideas of what do they need to be to make friends and feel connected. For those of us who have had the opportunity to go and live on campus or have that college experience, we know that, I know for me, some of my closest friends are still my friends that I made in college. And so there's some real opportunity here for them to make some really strong connections. Generally what they want out of their college experience and how can they make it happen. So really putting it, the onus on them that, again, lots of support here, but ultimately they have to be the ones who are willing to kind of step into that space and to be intentional about the experiences that they have and want to experience and connect in with. And then this question about how often do you want me to check in with you? An important question for all of these are important questions, but this one especially can really help to set some expectations for what checking in with each other looks like, how you can have some effective conversations with your students and make sure that they have opportunities to both connect with the community here, but also stay connected to you all. All right. I'm going to pass it on to Mary, who's going to talk about academics and grades now.
I am. So y'all, this is the scenario 2, and it says, what do you do at the bottom? And just so you know, this is a very typical scenario. So I just want to prepare you for that. It's the end of September. You're talking to your student on the phone, or more likely they're texting you frantically because they just got a C on a midterm and they're freaking out and they are like, I don't know what to do. I got a C, I'm failing. And they're feeling overwhelmed. And you may have had a student who during high school never had to study, or things came really easy to them. And, this is a different kind of scenario. And they seem to be struggling a little more with college classes and adjusting to their coursework. Again, coming to you all in the comments, what would you do in this situation? Casa I love that you all know the resource. Listen in big capital letters, and yes, yes, yes. Suggest they talk to a counselor or a professor. Yeah, absolutely. Their RA can be a really great resource too. Finding a study group. Have you gone to office hours? I love that question. Study with the folks in your residence hall. Ask a professor how they can raise their grade. Regroup. Oh, regroup just to be able to say, like, take a breath, regroup. Okay, what do we need to do to move forward? Love that. Agree that college is harder and he's doing good. Office hours. Yeah, it's okay to agree with them and say, yeah, this is harder and that's okay. And how do we, how can I support you in that? Lots of office hours, lots of professor. What you're learning is more important than the grade. It's like you all wrote this for us. I'm so happy to see that as a response. Be kind to yourself. Gosh, y'all are really great about, oh, what can I do for you? Great, great. And when they say, call the professor and tell them, oh, no, I'm just kidding. Um, this is one of those situations where listening and being and validating their experience is an important piece of that, right? So you're not able to swoop in and change things, and you're not able to, and you might not know what they're talking about. Half the time they're talking about things and I don't even know what language they're using. So you, as their coach, as their parent, as their support system, giving them some of those resources is really helpful. So what resources might be helpful? A lot of you named them. CASA is our Center for Academic Support and Advising. They offer tutoring, they offer academic coaching. They're very accessible. They have individual CASA advisors, but they can also take advantage of lots of other programming that CASA does. Visiting office hours, I love that you said that. Office hours are one of those things that we find students are really nervous to do, and they feel nervous about going to a professor and even asking a question because that feels like, oh gosh, am I needy? Am I not doing well? What's this professor going to think of me? I don't want to bug them. Office hours are for bugging your professor. And the professors really want them to be there and to show up, and that actually shows their professor how engaged they are and that they want to interact with them. So certainly going to office hours is something we always suggest. The library is a great resource. Every student on campus, and this is the upper class students will always say, like, this is my favorite spot to study. This is my favorite spot. And the library has not only is a lovely quiet place to like study, but it also has great resources. The librarians who work there are librarians for engineering and for STEM, and for, like, they are really helpful and they can be a really rich resource for sure. The counseling center, yes. If you feel like, and Derek's going to touch on this a little bit, but the counseling center talks to a lot of our students about anxiety around classes or like nerves around classes and feeling overwhelmed, and they can be a really great resource for that. Derek will go into that more, but there was a parent who earlier in the session said other people are going through this too, and we use this scenario because we see this over and over again for our students, that some of them just did not have an issue in high school and it was really easy, and now feels a little different. So those of you who are like not talking about the grades are not everything in college, and especially at a STEM school, at an engineering school, having a certain GPA or a GPA that maybe in high school made more sense for them to try to get into a school is not the same as the GPA or the grades that they will get while they are here. It is more about their understanding of things. It is more about how they apply things. It is more about how they come together and learn together on things. So it is a challenging atmosphere here, and they need to be prepared for that. But most of our students don't come to Mines because they're not up for a challenge. Like they appreciate that challenge that they get in their academics. And it's okay that they might be getting lower grades than they are used to getting. It's a new normal and they'll have to adjust a little bit. And so those of you who are like, be kind to yourself and own and say, gosh, yeah, that's tough. And I hear that you're going through that tough time. And how can I support you? What can I do for you? Those are a great way to think about that. And that positive messaging and the ability for you all to say, like, I'm here to support you. We got your back. Like, what, give yourself some grace. I still love the regroup because sometimes you just need to take a deep breath and regroup. Um, so academics and grades. So these are, again, questions for you to think about. I always tell you, like, take a picture of this slide, but things for you to ask your student, what strategies are you going to use to stay organized? And these are discussions that you can have right now over the summer. How are you going to establish a study schedule? What does that look like for you? What do you think? And that know that they will be kind of learning as they're going. How much time do you think you should dedicate to schoolwork or studying? Their peers will help to manage that as well because they will all be studying the same things. It's one of the things I really think is cool about Minds is many of them are in the same boat. If you don't do well on a test, what will you do? How are you going to handle that? Should we have a conversation? How will you know if you need a tutor? I will tell you that tutoring at Minds is different than tutoring in high school. Oftentimes students think about tutoring as I'm in trouble, I need a tutor. Really, I will say that our best like students who are on the dean's list, those students who are most successful in their courses are people who reached out early to ask for help and to get a tutor and to set themselves up for success. It's just a way to be proactive rather than reactive. And then what are examples of effective outreach to your professors? Asking students like what that would look like for them. How do you think you could reach out for your professor? What did they tell you was appropriate, or how did they want you to reach out? All of those things are great questions to ask. All right. And Derek, take it over.
All right. Thank you. All right, our last one has to do with health and well-being. And so the scenario here is it's a month or two into school since you dropped your son or daughter off, and you're talking to them, and they mention that they're homesick, that they've been skipping some classes, and they're sleeping more than normal. So put in the chat, how do you respond to that? What do you do? What are resources they could utilize? What's their responsibility? So Paul, you can switch to the next slide if you want. So enter stuff in there. Let's see. Go to the health center, the counseling center. Great. Visit them face to face. Tell them you love them. That's right. Ask about exercise, diet, nutrition. Keep encouraging them. Yeah. It's the most common time for homesick. These are great. You all are wonderful. Again, you have such good answers. Ask questions, listen. Yes, so send gifts. Wonderful. Wonderful. Check in with friends. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. There's so much. And this is, again, pretty normal, similar to the other exercises. We see this a lot where our students, it's such a time of transition, right? Everything's new, everything's different, everything's weird. And so, yeah, you're going to have a lot of homesickness. You're going to have students that feel like they're not connecting in some way. We'll talk about imposter syndrome in a little bit, but that's real. Yeah. And so, again, we have a lot of great resources on campus. Somebody mentioned the counseling center, the health center. Those are both great. Those are both located in our wellness center here on campus where students can go and see a nurse practitioner. They can see one of our counselors. All that's free. It's already paid for through your other resources that you've spent money on. But yeah, we encourage students to see a counselor, to see a nurse practitioner, whatever they're dealing with. If they feel like something's not right, that's a great place to start. Again, we've talked about clubs and organizations, but that's another way to kind of get them back into their hobbies. You know, they were probably super engaged in high school in various different things. And then they get to Minds and it's all STEM, engineering, And sometimes they need that break to do something different. So the clubs and organizations can get them re-engaged with some of those hobbies to take them out of a funk they may be in. We also have an office called Student Outreach and Support, SOS, and this is a great resource. I encourage all of you to check out their website. If you just do Minds SOS, it'll come up, and that's our kind of first stop shop for students that are struggling in some way. And so parents can submit referrals, a student can submit a self-referral, a student can submit a referral on somebody else if they feel like something's not right. And then our staff will do some outreach and try to get some more information, either from the person that submitted the referral to outreach to the student directly, and then get them connected with different resources on campus that may be able to assist depending on what's going on. But just feel like if something's not right, SOS is a great first stop shop to help them out, as well as the RA, talking to your residence life coordinator or the RA in the building that the student's living in. Those are all wonderful individuals to help get the student connected and back on track. People also said visit in person. Yeah, we've got family weekend at the end of October. That's a great time, but you don't have to wait till then. If you live even closer, you can come and check in with your student. I always say take them to a meal. They always want something different. And so going to a meal is great, and let them bring a friend or two, because the friend or two will tell you everything, right? Your student may be quiet and shy and not share, but the friends will always give all the tea, all the good information that you need to learn about what's going on with your son or daughter. So come visit, take them to a meal, and have them bring a friend. That'll also be fun for them to, just share a little bit in front of their friends as well. So, yeah, I also think, we'll talk about this in a minute, but keep that communication up, whether it's FaceTime or weekly chats on the weekend or whatever it is, kind of keep those things going. So DePaul, if you go to the next slide, here's, as Mary said, the slide to take a picture of. These are some things, some questions you could ask your son or daughter before the summer's over, just about how they plan to reduce stress, how they plan to relax. What if they get sick? Do they know where the health center is? They know what their family medical history is. Are they comfortable going and seeking that assistance? I think if my daughter, she's never been to the doctor by herself. Like me or my wife has always been with her. And so is she ready for, if she doesn't feel good, how to do that? Talk about substance abuse. What are the risks? How are they going to manage that? What are they going to do if they start to feel overwhelmed by college? As I said, there's lots of imposter syndrome, and that is real. That's where you think everybody's better. Nobody else has the same problems as I do. And so, yeah, I think reminding them that lots of people feel that way, and that's not true. They're just as talented, just as capable. And everybody looks at them like, oh, they've got all their stuff together. And, but everybody feels like, they're not as good as the next person, but they definitely are. And we'll talk to them a lot about that, but I think hearing it from you as well is wonderful. So yeah, that's that section. We're going to go on to our top 9 best tips for you all. But before I do that, I just want to do a shout out to some of the people from really far away. I think I saw somebody from Alaska, somebody from Hawaii, France, Sweden. Well done. Thanks for being here. I also want to give an extra shout out to the folks from Minnesota. I saw 3 or 4 Minnesota folks. My wife's family from Minnesota, and we're driving there this weekend. So I'll spend the next week or so in Minnesota. So hello, maybe I'll see you there. I'll be in Annandale. If you know where that's at, come visit. And yeah, well, let's get into our top 9. So the first is communicate about communication. This was talked about a little bit earlier, but Set a plan of what you're going to do. Like we're going to have a phone call every week, or we're going to do a FaceTime. Um, you'll want to have a plan of what not, because if you don't have a plan, what happens is mom and dad call us and say, I haven't heard from my son in 3 days. And I'm like, that's okay. It's all right. We'll get them to call you, but have a plan so that something that they can count on, that you can count on, that you know what that's going to look like, whether that's text messages, emails, FaceTime, phone calls, whatever. Communicate about what you're going to do. The second is this is a big time of change, as we've mentioned. So anything that you can keep normal, please do. So if they're taking medications, please have them continue to take those medications. The start of college is not the time to say, I think I'm going to stop doing that, or let me change this up. If you can keep anything normal, please do. And then my third piece of advice, again, has to do with imposter syndrome. Don't feed into it by asking them about the outcome. Talk about the process. So the example that's already been given is don't talk about grades, talk about learning. That's great. Instead of saying, what'd you get on that test? Say, what have you learned in this class? What class do you seem to be enjoying the most? What class is giving you the biggest difficulty and why? You can also talk about, people have talked about the journey versus the destination, right? Career fair is going to be one of the first things you hear about that happens in, middle of the semester or early part of the semester. Probably not good to ask them, did you get a job at their first year career fair? Some of them they might get an internship, who knows? But probably not the question to ask. But ask them, like, what did they see? What did they learn? What did they experience? What was the career fair like? What are classes like? How's the food? Just ask about the whole experience. So those are my three, and I'll turn it over to Mary.
So this one says to create a cheat sheet of resources, and kind of what we mean by that is make yourselves as knowledgeable as you can be too. You'll find that our websites are pretty robust and full of information about Derek just talked about the counseling center, and all sorts of resources are on their website. So we are not able to talk about the plethora of resources that our campus offers, but it's important that you know and your student knows. We will be telling your student in several different ways and in several different times what resources are available and how they're available and those sorts of things. But if you, as their support system, when they're texting you freaking out, or when they will always, I will warn you, they will always call you at the height of their anxiety, fear, nervousness, anger, upsetness. You will get the brunt. They'll call you when they're hurting the most. And then 10 minutes later, it will not be a big deal. But in the moment, they'll give you the call. And so if you can just listen and hear them in that moment, and then later ask, what resource, or can I offer you some resources, or, hey, I looked at the website and I found this. But if you feel comfortable with some of our information, that's a great way for you to be able to support them and to coach them into finding those resources as well. So that's just something if you're familiar with those resources, that's really helpful too. Go, Derek.
I just want to put out that DePaul put in the chat about the Blaster book, and that's a great place to find resources. And I just wanted to highlight that.
Awesome. Thanks. Yes, it is. Like I said, we give them to the students in so many different ways. And just a great way for you to access to. And so you can serve as a resource. And while you're listening and supporting them through the hard times, or when they're at the height of whatever's going on, then you can be like, what's going on? Let me offer you some resources. So this is an important one. Utilize student outreach and support systems. So this is SOS, we call it SOS for short. And I talked a little bit earlier about the safety nets that we have on campus. One of those safety nets is the SOS office and the staff that works there. We have a system where anybody on campus can submit an SOS report about anybody else that they may be worried about. So we have students submit them about themselves. We have faculty members submit them about students. We have parents submit them about students. We have friends submit them about their friends. And what that does is if you're worried for any reason about your student or if your student is worried about a friend or whatever, and you're like, gosh, I just don't know who to contact, this is the one place that we will take this information in, and then we will find the right people to support that student. But this system goes to our Office of Student Outreach and Support, and those folks will reach out and work through with your student or with the student that is of concern, and try to get them to the help they need and the resources they need. It's a great one-stop shop for if you're worried at all about anything. And then my last one before I hand it over to Sheena is that failure will happen. Believe in your student. So failure, and I don't just mean in the classroom, they will have real lonely times. And this is one of those times where it's real easy to feel alone in a room full of people. And they will have hard times. There will be times when you will feel completely helpless to be able to help your student, your kid. And there will be times that you're feeling like, gosh, I don't know what to do. And really what you can do is just believe in them and let them know that you do. Because they will have these hard times, and that is totally normal. And if you think of the scheme of things in your life and their life up to this point, they have had real high highs, they have had real low lows. Most of the time they're just traveling around, right? And we know that. We're here to support them. If they know that you have their back and they know that you believe in them, that is so much of a huge help for them to be able to move on and figure out the next hill and to be able to move forward. So just recognize that these things will happen and that sometimes that might leave you feeling helpless, but your belief in them and you're letting them know that you believe in them and that you love them and that you support them, that is a huge piece for them to know, okay, I have my what I need to move forward. All right, Sheena.
All right, I'll jump in with the last three. So we talked a lot about community in that first scenario. And, we really just can't talk enough about this. Having that community, prioritizing, finding that community and engaging on campus, oftentimes will be a support for students to prevent them from having such low lows, right? They'll have a whole group of folks that they can plug into that will help to normalize some of the things that they're experiencing. One of the things that we often will see, and this was mentioned already, but we'll see students who they think that they're the only ones experiencing something. They have that community. They know they're not the only ones that are experiencing something. That engagement on campus, I think especially for students who, if you are, we have a range of some students who are super social and they want to find that community, and others where that may be more of a challenge. And so really helping them to figure out the ways to do that, that feel comfortable and authentic to them, and that will help them to find community, not just that, are just here for the sake of being here, but community that actually will connect with them and that they'll be able to find things in common. And just those ways to support one another. So that aspect is super important, and we want to make sure that students are really pushing themselves to find that. The other piece is that we want for students to be advocating for themselves. So it's wonderful when they come to us, or even when they come to you and they want that help and support. But part of what we also want them to do is to really practice those advocacy skills. We say on here, conflict can be really healthy. There are many times when I will hear of students coming to me, or another staff member will come to me and say, hey, these students are in conflict. And my first question is, have they talked to the other folks that they're in conflict with? And a lot of times the answer is no. they haven't ever approached the people that they're experiencing something negative with. And so to help students to develop that, to develop that with their peers is an excellent thing, but there are also times where they need to advocate for themselves in other spaces, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be with other things that they're seeing on campus that they have questions about, or they want to be able to better understand. That self-advocacy is such an important skill for them to build. And, for those of us that, that we've, gotten out into the real world and we're in a job, or, there's so many places on a day-to-day basis where we might find ourselves advocating for ourselves in little and big ways. And so that skill set is extremely important, and something that, we will encourage your students to be doing for themselves and be doing for others, and to be doing that for the community as well that they're a part of, because we all care a lot about the community. So thinking about what that looks like. And then the final thing is just a little bit more of, just not super in depth, but something that is really important as we think about what the transition looks like for students. Tests and homework, that will be one aspect of their experience that will likely look very different from what it looked like for them in high school. Oftentimes, tests are going to be the main things that their grades are predicted off of, right? How well they do on tests, homework, or labs. Bigger projects oftentimes are what they're working on. And so there may not be as much opportunity to find points, right? That ability to really think about the foundational aspect of the learning that's happening. And one of the things that I love, probably it's one of the things that I love the most about our students here, is I just love watching them learn. The fact that they love to learn, they're interested in what they're learning about. We hear them, like Mary said, sometimes we don't always know what they're talking about, because it is very scientific, but to hear students just being able to talk about what it is that they're learning and to talk about it in an excited way, those I think are the important things about how they're spending time in the classroom, like was said before. So that's another really important aspect of just that transition that students are going to make, among the many others that we've talked about. Derek, did you have something to add?
I mean, maybe for my own good, I will add that I think just trust that we're here to help you, that you've done a great job getting them to this point. They're gonna mess up, right? They're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna disappoint you. They're gonna, whatever. But most of the time, they're gonna make really good choices. They're gonna really make you proud, really, yeah, just make you super happy, and just trust that they're great and that you've done a good job getting them to this point. And we're here to help with that and to continue that journey, and definitely willing to partner with you all. But clearly, you all have the answers. I'm looking at the chat again, and you're amazing. Uh, and but if you ever need anything, maybe next slide is great for this, DePaul. You could always reach out to us with questions. As Mary said, robust website, lots of good information on our web pages. But if you just got questions, obviously DePaul and that team in Nest is great right now. But as the year gets going, or the time gets going, please feel free to reach out to Dean of Students at Mines. We're all on there. We can get you answers. Please say hi when you're on campus, whether it's move-in, parents' weekend, whatever. Happy to engage in conversation and get to know you all more. And then with that, I think we'll just turn it back over to DePaul.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for all of this. This is always great, and I know really, really helpful for our families and guests as they prepare to support their student. Really quickly, before we wrap up, I just have a couple reminders from our office. So if you haven't already signed up, be sure to join us for the rest of our welcome webinars throughout the summer. Families, I know we're reminding our students about a lot of things right now, but there is a webinar next week that we definitely still have space available for. And that one is going to be for students only, and will be a panel with some of our current student leaders. So just like we did the panel for families earlier this summer, we're going to do one exactly for students as well. And they'll be able to get their questions answered, hear a little bit from some of our students' experiences, all of that kind of thing. Would one of you mind dropping the welcome webinars link in the chat for me? So that one is coming up next. And then our final one will be on Tuesday, August 5th. And that is going to be preparing for move-in and hell of a welcome. Unsurprisingly, that is a always popular topic. And so that one actually is already full. But rest assured, we will be recording that session and recorded all of the sessions this summer so far. And those can be found roughly 24 hours after each webinar on our Welcome Webinars website. So it looks like Sheena just put that in the chat for you. So that is a great place to reference as well. But remind your student to sign up for that if they haven't already. Also, make sure your student is completing their Ordinger Next Steps checklist in their admissions portal. We are coming up on some of those deadlines and getting ready to move them in again in less than a month, which is pretty wild. So make sure they're completing those steps as they prepare for their time here. And then also make sure that they're checking their Minds email throughout the summer for important information, not only from our office, but from other campus partners as well. And that's something I always like to mention too, as a really important piece, specifically because I think a lot of students don't think they necessarily need to check their Minds email until they get here. But they are getting lots of great information to that email already. So definitely make sure that they are checking that. And then the last piece I just wanted to touch base on really quickly. I know our student life leadership talked a lot about some great resources and services available to help support students here on campus. But I also think it's equally important to talk about some of the supports that we have established for you all as families and supporters of students at Minds. And so if you didn't receive our email last week, or roughly last week, you can find more information on our New Student and Transition Services website as well. We are going to be launching, we've already launched our Ordinger Family Portal, which is really exciting. So if you haven't made your account for that yet, make sure that you do that. Again, more information can be found on our website. We'll also be launching a family resources hub starting that first week of classes. And that will be live on our website. And that's a really great place to help you kind of navigate a lot of the Minds websites and kind of find the information that you're looking for to help support your student. And then we're also launching here in a couple weeks a Current Families Facebook page as well. So keep an eye out for more information about that. We'll have a lot of information specifically around that as we get close to that first week of classes. But just wanted to make sure I plugged that for you all so you know that there are supports out there to help you all as well. I see just really quick, I'm going to address these two quick questions. How long should they plan to stay? Oh, look at that. Mary already answered it. Love it. Most people plan to stay for that convocation and welcome barbecue on their students' move-in day. But after that, your student is going to be either heading to camp or doing orientation programs starting early that next morning. So typically their move-in day is when we ask families to say their goodbyes. So I would say definitely by the end of that evening. Usually I believe that barbecue goes until around 7 o'clock or so. And then I saw one question too about if you're having issues getting into their account, you're definitely going to want to have them reach out to our IT department as they will be able to help kind of get them through working through those issues of getting into their account and all of those great things. But with that being said, thank you all again so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you again to our student life leadership for joining us as well. Again, their contact information was there for you all if you ever need anything. But with that, thank you all so much. We hope to see you during the rest of our Welcome Webinar series and on campus here soon in August. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.